anybody want to go to the panel?
Yes.
Okay. Reserve seat.
Thank you.
Half an hour down here, so like 10:30.
All right, we have a few audio recordings going on at the table, so
Sure.
would you mind introducing yourself, your title, and recent projects you're working on?
Sure. My name is Ramón Pérez. I'm an artist and writer. I work for Marvel, DC Comics as well. I have my own imprint called Raid Press, set up in Toronto, Canada. Recent projects include deep cuts with Image, the Singularity, which we're here all for. I've also done a lot of work for DC, The Flash, and that sort of thing over the years.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
So you're credited as the illustrator for the five chapters of the first life.
Yes.
Is that the extent of kind of where you were?
Yeah, so
illustrating?
I came in closer to the end of the project. They were looking for someone to kind of tie in all the stories. So they had various artists working on different lives of the main character. And they had asked me, after I'd worked with Kyle on a book called Deep Cuts, which is a jazz-driven historical book, and after he saw the issue I handed in, he was like, I got a project I'm working on. We need someone that can kind of like blend or bring in music to comics, which is surprisingly something I've done a few times in my career. So I had a meeting with Bear and Kyle, and they kind of presented the whole concept. Bear shared his album with me. I fell in love, and I was like, yeah, I'm on board, count me in. So I got to do these chapter, I guess, interstitials in between the other stories that tie, I guess, the character's journey throughout his different lifespans, life moments.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun. I got to kind of pseudo-design the character. They had kind of been struggling a little bit trying to find the character's identity overall through the different ages. They had commissioned Lee Pace to do the audio for the album. So I was like, why don't we just draw Lee Pace? And I ended up sketching Lee really quickly, sent it in, and Bear was like, bang on. I did a couple of adjustments with hair over the ages, beards, this, that, and the other thing. And yeah, so and then like I was joking at the other table. I sent in my Pinterest board of fashion for the character, and we just hit the ground running. I tackled it rather quickly near the because they were, like I said, I was one of the last guys to come in, so they had a press deadline because they were launching the album and a variety of different things. So I came in, designed, drew, and it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
So you mentioned Lee Pace.
Yeah.
There are some other celebrities
There are. I'm the worst guy to ask because I suck with names. So.
That guy that was in that thing?
Yeah, I'm that guy. I'm like, the guy with the hair. And the only reason I know Lee Pace, even though I love his work, watching the Foundation series, it was the other journalists who were like, yeah, Lee Pace. I'm like, yeah, that guy, the handsomest man in show business right now. But yeah, there's like a ton of musicians on the album. I was joking earlier that one of my favorite things was waking up saying, hey, Slash tagged you in a post. And I was like, that's never something I thought I'd be waking up to. You know what I mean? But you work on such a great project with such a variety of not only artistic talent, but musical talents as well. And like seeing this mashup come together, I wish it would have been cool to be involved more from the beginning and help it grow throughout. But I came in, I did my bit, and I'm proud to be there for it, basically. Yeah.
So it's kind of a massive verse in real life. It's like superheroes coming together and like forming this.
Musical legends, in the metal, musicology. I don't know what words I'm making up, but it's really cool to see. I'm not sure if you've heard the album yet or not, but like it is a phenomenal album. It takes you on these highs and lows. It's aggressive. It's peaceful. Like it's really wonderful, and how Bear brought in these other musicians to play to their skill sets and their talents and bring their personality to the tracks they're on, kind of thing. And then also then taking the artists and then matching them to the different parts. And so it's a really interesting building process, and I think it's kind of dope to see things like this where you're bringing two disparate mediums and kind of seeing how they work together, especially comics, which is unlike animation, which is crossed over a lot with music because you can easily put a soundtrack
got
on.
Rufus Wainwright here.
Oh, there you go. Shut up.
Everybody knows who that is, of course. You came for him. We're going to shoot some still pictures right now for just a minute. So if you want to come over, come on over.
We'll keep going while we have you here. Yeah.
We keep going.
Yeah.
What?
Oh, I say no. We'll keep going.
Oh, okay.
I'm, at this point now, something I've grasped from now our third interview is that there's this narrative of betting on yourself. It seems like everybody has went on a limb and created their own projects, started their own production companies, studios, and so on. What does that mean to you at this point now to have this success and to go off on a limb and be able to bet on yourself?
I think we're in a great era where there's so much at your disposal to do things yourself. Like even like a lot of the stuff I'm doing now, I wanted to do like back in the early 2000s, but there just wasn't that gateway, whether it was from crowdfunding or micropayments or accessibility to printers or whatever it was. Like there's just so much technology that allowed us to make and take these risks, and I love it. Like I love the idea. I've always been. I mean, I think just like going down any art form, you're taking a risk. You don't know if you're going to be successful, whether people are going to like your music, like your art, like your acting. So right there, you're already a risk taker. But then just take it even further and go like, I'm putting my own money on the line. I'm putting my own integrity on the line and backing, whether it's your own ideas or other people's ideas. I think it's an amazing thing, and I couldn't see my life going any other way. Like it would be kind of boring. You know, I might have less gray hair, but like you know, it's pretty awesome. I'm able to do this now and have the freedom to pull it off, and you know, sit with these great writers, musicians, and you know, like if you asked me when I was a teenager, would I be collaborating with the guy who did the Lord of the Rings soundtrack and Rufus Wainwright? I'd be like, God, that's hilarious. But here I am, and that's how it happens. You just got to keep pushing out of your own comfort zone, basically. Yeah. You know.
When I woke up this morning, whether you are, I'm not sure if you all roomed together for travel here to New York Comic Con. I'm just curious about what was the vibes in the group chat. What were some messages sent to one another? It's a big day.
I think it's just chaos. You wake up, New York, just like San Diego, is a beast of a show. And you're like, I arrived yesterday. I landed. I went to my hotel, went straight to the show, and it's been nonstop. Because you just keep going. You do the show, then you have dinners, then you have drinks, and then you know it's 3 a.m. and then you're going to bed, and you're rinsing and repeating for the. And you're like, I got to keep doing this now for 5 more days or 4 more days, whatever it is, right? So yeah, this trip in particular, I booked a couple extra days, so I'm like, I can just decompress, hang out with a few friends afterwards, and then we can properly catch up, because you're like either going with the flow or swimming upstream the whole weekend, and you're exhausted afterwards.
Honestly, that's a pro tip, and I do that every year in San Diego.
After
Sunday, I essentially clock out, and I figure out what beach I'm staying by. 3 days, and just kick back, no content, just like.
I used to be. My younger son was like, I gotta be efficient. I'm gonna leave right after the show, get back. And then my older son was like, no. We're taking 2 or 3 extra days, and we're just gonna chill out at a beach. Actually, speaking of San Diego, one of my favorite things I've done over the years is I rent a beach house in Pacific Beach.
I just did this.
And I just Uber in 20 minutes to the show, and then I'm like, I'm going back to the beach now. And our little beach house is a rooftop barbecue, and I'm just like, guys, come over here. And that's just the best way to tackle San Diego, man. So don't spread it out too much.
I know.
That's some wisdom right there, we stay in Coronado for a couple of days.
I would do Pacific Beach.
Kind of chill out.
No, it's awesome, because these shows are bigger and bigger. Like,
Pacific this year, Mission last year.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, just like what beach this year?
Just enjoy it, because it's all close by.
No.
Eventually the con will be everywhere but the downtown.
Keep that part out of the yard.
Yeah, exactly. Redacted, all redacted. Damn it! Can we just bleep for like a few minutes? No.
One of the themes that has come up with everyone you've spoken to is this wonderful synergy between the audio and the visual, and how it's accessible for people that are fans of either but might not know about each. Like people that are music people that are metal people, it's still accessible for people that maybe comic people that aren't. necessarily into metal and vice versa.
Yeah.
How do you what do you feel about that kind of synergy happening and that kind of like broadening of both genres?
I think it's a difficult thing, but I think it's an awesome thing because, like, yeah, you want to create two things that stand alone because you don't know if the people who get the book are going to be able to discover the album, or obviously you'll be made aware of it as a reader, whatever it might be. But talking to Bear earlier in the green room, he was mentioning how well the book sold at the live show, at the live event, where people experienced the music and then they're walking through the gift shop and they're like, oh, T-shirt, album, oh, what's this? A comic book that relates. And so it's adding another layer to the story. So if you're reading the book, you got the layer of the music. If you got the music, you got the layer of the comic book, right? And I feel like if there's more of these things you can create that bring these two mediums together, or even other ones, like bring in other layers. Like I've seen, people do comics in a video game. Why not, have another layer in there and bring it together? Like I think they're all storytelling mediums to a certain degree. Like music's taking you on a journey through what you hear, comics through what you see and read, and layering that together. And especially if you can do things where by combining both you get something even bigger and better, that's even more awesome. Like it's rather than like just work equally, just have them complement and build up the whole scenario. And I think the Singularity does that beautifully, right? So.
I kind of wish all my comic books had a soundtrack.
I know, right?
Like, this should be normal.
I've seen the letters pages over the years where like the writer or someone will be like, here's like the albums I suggest you listen to while reading this book or whatever it might be. Yeah, because when I work on books, like I said, I worked on a jazz book, I've worked on a few other things. And even if it's not music related, I always have a particular soundtrack that I'm listening to when I'm working on a certain genre of book. So, if I'm working on something historical, I'll often choose something from that era to get me in the vibe of the book or the illustrations or the fashion or the time period, whatever it might be. So obviously with this one it was metal because that was what the album kind of leads into. But yeah, I think that everything should have that infusion if you can pull it off.
So let me ask about the art. So obviously it's really important that the Blue Eyes character has blue eyes throughout all of the different illustrations.
Yes.
Different artists, had to adopt that as a way to know it's the same character.
To a degree, yeah. Obviously, the physical description of the character was pretty consistent throughout as well.
I mean, he did kind of change, like
He does change a little bit, yeah.
His whole appearance changes to kind of match the universe.
Yes, yeah.
The eyes are really the thing that's consistent.
Yeah.
So that's genius. But so how did your work or influence the other illustrators, or vice versa? Was there any collaboration across the illustrators?
I didn't talk to the other illustrators directly. That's the job of the editor to kind of make sure everything stays in line. I did design the main character a bit based on, like I said, Lee Pace and the fashion that Bear suggested, like the vibe he wanted of the character. And then we went through the different eras and said, okay, what do we want him to look like? Is he what point of his life is he? He's young, he's more put together, maybe his hair is shorter, he's a little bit dressed nicer, whatever. And then as he gets older and he experiences more, how does that affect how he looks in his throughout life? So there was adjustments in play there, and I know some of the artists did adjust their art a little bit to match some of my design changes, and I also had reference from what they had done sent to me to kind of inform what I did as well, right? But yeah, there's a lot of these, especially projects like this where you have so many different artists. It's really the editorial team that's really there. They're the secret police that kind of make sure everything works together and everything lines up, and then they get the colorist to make sure, okay, he's got this look, this skin tone, this eye color, whatever it might be, to bring it all together. Okay. It's just too big of a project for one person to do.
There has to be some coordination. So
yeah. So we try to do it. Obviously, there's a lot of chaos happening too, because you got artists all over the world working on this, getting art from different people and stuff like that. Like I said, I came in closer to the end. I think I was probably drawing my pages as I'm handing them, and they're sending them off to the printer 2 weeks later. So,
clearly the Blue Eyes concept had to be
that was established before, yeah,
long before,
exactly, yeah. And I just came in and ride that wave, so but it's fun. It's exciting because you're pivoting and you're engaging suddenly. It's like being thrown into an ops, a secret ops operation. You're like, here's your team members and go, right? And you're just creating, you're riffing off each other. being inspired by each other, hopefully inspiring others and stuff like that. And you just go at it, and hopefully the team, the personnel behind the scenes, behind the curtain, are making sure everything just lines up, coordinates, and gets off to presses, because I know the book had to be done to get out to distribution, to have the premiere show that they were doing, and they had animation there. So it was like all these different, things had to line up for the premiere concert live show that they were doing.
Were you at the live event?
No, I wanted to go. I had a conflict.
What an opportunity to go.
Oh, I know. I was talking to Bear. I was so bad. I was so upset that I missed it, but I was just not in the country, but. He said they're going to be doing more shows next year, so okay. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. I'm pulling Ramon.
Oh, no. All right.
We're going to move your table slightly this way, just like a half a foot.
Yeah, sure.
Don't kill the camera. All right, turn your side that way. Or don't. No, the other way. The other way. So he's got the camera still at a good angle there.
Okay.
There. Now pop it there.
There you go.
Ramon, come with me.
All right.
Bear.
Thank you.
How did you get involved in this project? At what point did you learn about it, and what drew you into it?
I've worked with Kyle Higgins a few times in the past. Most recently was a book called Deep Cuts, which was a jazz-driven kind of historical series. It was nominated for an Eisner. And my work on that, I guess, they were looking for an artist on Singularity to kind of tie the book together. I do all the in-between segments of the main character's journey through life. And I guess they were having trouble finding someone to do that. And after I'd submitted my issue for Deep Cuts, he was like, "This is dope. I have an idea. Can I run it by you?" And I was like, "Sure, yeah, bring it on." And so he set up a meeting between Bear, myself, and himself, and we talked about the album. And I love the mashup of genres where you're bringing two different disparate things together and how they would work, especially in comics, which is like a silent medium for the most part. So how do you represent music? How do you represent sound or audio without, cheesy, little music notes or something, right? So yeah, and it's funny enough, I've done a lot of these. So I did Deep Cuts. I did another one called Tale of Sand, which was a Jim Henson-based book, but very musically driven. So yeah, I had the meeting with Bear and Kyle, and Bear was kind enough to share the album with me. I sat back and listened to it. It's a dope album. If you haven't, check it out. And yeah, I was hooked. I was like, yes, sign me on. And yeah, we just started chatting. They gave me the script. We discussed the main character. They were having trouble figuring out what he looked like. And the actor that they had used for his voice, I'm terrible with names, the guy from the Foundation series on Apple.
Lee Pace.
Yes. One of the handsomest men in hold on, slow down. And so I was like, why don't we just draw Lee Pace? They were like, that's a good idea. So I did a couple of sketches in, they sent it, I sent it in, they loved it. They're like, this is awesome. All right, okay, easy. Because, so yeah, and that's how I came on board. You kind of go where the universe takes you sometimes, right?
Yeah, you gotta say yes.
Yeah, I'm a yes and kind of guy, so yeah.
We talk a lot about challenges in the creative field, but I want to know for you on this, what was something that you were surprised in sort of how easily and smoothly it all came together?
Well, usually I know with a lot of artists, a lot of the harder part is the laying out of the comic and how the panels work with each other, and that I found was one of my favorite things. So when I was listening to the album, having the script in hand and kind of imagining the sequencing of the pages, aside from the required first two panels having to be what they kind of set them up as, I was allowed to play in that regard, and that was like a nice, beautiful, easy moment where I'm just listening to the music and I'm using the panels almost like notes on a music page, or I'm not a musician, so I don't know the proper terms, but and just playing with that was just beautifully easy, because the album is just, it takes you through a narrative, and just being able to just listen and you're like, oh yeah, this is going like this, so the panels are kind of emulating that, and the story and the vibe of the story is as serene as it'll long panels or tall, thin, or whatever it is. So that was a real fun part, and I can't wait to see it. When inspiration strikes, it gets right nice and easy, right?
Yeah.
It's the ones when you get the bad script, you're like, oh my god, I can't make this work. How's it gonna go? So yeah.
You talked a bit about how the characters look and how that came together at the start, but did that change much from beginning to end? And then I'm also curious about the general setting. You know, how did you determine in collaboration what the background would look like, what the world would look like?
I was one of the last artists that came in because, like I said, they were having a hard time finding someone to bind the series together. Because I can't remember right now, but I think there's like 4 or 5 other artists on the series. They do different eras that correspond to different musical overtures on the album, and so a lot of the main work was done for me by the time I got there. I did the designing of the main character, like his look through the ages, and a lot of the artists then kind of adjusted their art to kind of match my rendition of the character, kind of thing. And the backgrounds, all that stuff, the writer gave a nice robust script. You know, they oftentimes they'll give comparisons. They'll be like, it's kind of like this scene in a movie, or this book over here, or whatever, or I want this vibe, or whatever it might be. So that was fairly easy. It's like, I think for the first 2 parts of my story, it's set like in a village, so I'm like researching things like villages and offshore places, peaceful places. And then after that, the world gets destroyed. So I just have fun after that. I'm drawing explosions, people melting, falling apart. Anatomy I never thought I'd draw. Like, it's wonderful. So a good script will take you good places, and like I said earlier, a bad script will be a hard thing to kind of adapt. So I guess the writer working closely with Bear on what he wanted. By the time it got into my hands, I pretty much hit the ground running. Aside from just designing the character, it was like smooth sailing. Excuse me. But yeah.
So then, what was your favorite thing that you drew? Like, what did you get that inspiration and you just went?
Well, I think for me, it's never one thing in particular. I love playing with comics as a medium because it's often relegated to the very simple. Like, it's like here's your Captain America comic, here's your whatever comic. It's 6 panels on a page, turn next, story goes on, which is awesome. I grew up on that. But there's so much more you can do with the medium, and how you play with those panels, how you play with the spaces in between the panels, how the characters are placed within them, and that emotional resonance you create through the arrangement of those things. And that's my favorite part to play in. Favorite panel in the series? I got to draw a guy getting ripped apart by mystical snake serpents, and so I'm drawing bones, arteries, hearts, things melting. I'm like, this is interesting. It's always funny. With right now we have there's a big surge in AI art. People are like, oh my god, and I'm typing in, try it out. You're typing in brain melting across the universe. What's it gonna do? I'm like, nah, I'm on my own here. I gotta create it. So it's always funny when you get that script and what the writer has imagined and what they've asked you to create, and then you're like, all right, let's see how far I can push this and how much fun I can have. So it was a joy to draw and play with, and I hope there's more of these kind of projects where you bring 2 kind of disparate industries together. Take a concept album, use film with comic books, whatever it might be. So there's so much fun you can have.
It's really interesting.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's it's one of the. I always call it the redheaded stepchild of the art form. No one wants to talk about it, it's over there, but you go over to Europe, it's a celebrated medium here, it's still kind of trying to find its identity, it's trying to find its audience, and it's nice to see more and more people accepting it as an avenue of a literary experience, basically. And the journeys it can take you on, right? So, it was pretty dope.
Do you find it more challenging to approach a project like this where it's new and everything is pretty much up to you and the writer's discretion versus doing something like with Marvel where it's Captain America is Captain America and this is what the world looks like? And
for sure, yeah. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of stuff that was was some stuff that was pre-designed already, but when you are given a world that's like a blank slate, it is more difficult, but it's also way more fun because you do have that free reign, right? It's a little bit difficult when they say they give you no parameters and you're like, where do you start? But if they give you like a few tent poles and go like, all right, between these two, this is what we're thinking, and you're like, okay, I got the range, now it's up to me to narrow it down and bring it together. Playing in Marvel or DC, you're doing your version of an existing character. You can play to a certain degree, but then you get the notes going, oh, the shoulder pads are less, the boots are bigger, or whatever it is. All right. And some companies are more lax with that. Other companies are like, very tight. This is what the character looks like, right? But yeah, so with a book like this, or the previous ones I've done with Kyle, a lot of free reign, designing the characters, their outfits, their clothing. Like with the main character for this one, I was sending like my Pinterest board of fashion going, so this is the outfit I'm seeing over here, and this, and so on. So yeah, it's like paper doll cutouts. All right, musical cheers. Thank you. Cheers.